We're going to cover several concepts today. We're going to kind of kick this into higher gear with some of this review stuff. I wanted to give us all some time to sort of acclimate to online learning. And now we're going to pick up the pace a little bit. So, reminder, if you get bogged down, I am there from 9:30 till the end of the day on Tuesday. So you can always come early if you need extra math help on Tuesdays. And then I also offer the extra homework help on Fridays for, I think it's from 10 to 12, and it's $20 to be dropped off, and we can work through as much math as we can in those 2 hours, a little bit more extra help time. Okay, we're going to start by going through adding and subtracting polynomials. This is lesson 12 and 13 in your textbook, and they show you how to work these slightly different than I do. I like the way that they show you in the textbook how to do this, but it's kind of, juvenile is not really the right word, but it's sort of lower level in that as we progress, these are going to get longer, and that process that they teach you tends to take a little bit longer. So I'm going to show you the way that I always do them, because like I said, it's going to get longer and harder to do it the way the textbook does it, okay? So let's just jump in and work a few of these. All right, your textbook sort of skips over this idea of like terms. Here's what you have to remember. I can only add like terms. That means the variables have to match exactly. X squared is not the same as X, which is not the same as no X. So those guys are not like terms. The variables have to match. That's key to a lot of math, but especially this lesson. I can only add like terms. So here's what we do. We look inside of our parentheses. If we can't do anything inside, we look outside. Now, what is outside of this parenthesis? Nothing. Well, technically, there's an understood plus, but there's a big, long process. Technically, what we have to do is we have to take this understood plus 1 and multiply it to everything. But here is the reality of the situation. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. A positive 1 outside of my parentheses doesn't change anything. So here's the thing. We don't want to think that much. So here's what I need to know. If there is nothing outside the parentheses, is actually a plus 1. And if I have a plus 1 outside of my parentheses, the parentheses simply, that should be a W, not sure what happened there. Parentheses simply go away. All right? Technically, we're multiplying a plus 1 in, but it changes nothing. So inside of my first set of parentheses, I can't do anything. I look outside, there's a plus 1, which means an understood plus 1. Those parentheses, oops, I simply rewrote it. Those parentheses go away. X squared plus 2x plus 3. If I look at the second set of parentheses, can I do anything inside? No, because they're not like terms. So where do I look? Outside. What is outside? A plus understood 1. So the parentheses simply go away. Keep the plus. At this point now, there's no parentheses, so I keep going in my order of operations. And at this point, it's only addition and subtraction. So I'm going to add and subtract together from left to right. Now, here's the thing. I can only add like terms. So here's what I do. X squared, X squared, X, X, no X, no X. And I'm going to match them up, okay? What is X squared plus 2x squared? Don't lose your understood 1. I have 1x squared. I get 2 more x squareds. I now have 3x squareds. Whoop, that's not a squared. I now have 3x squareds. All right, now I have 2 x's. I take 1 x away. Don't lose your understood 1. 2 x's, take 1 x away, and I'm left with 1 x. Now I have 3 plus 1, and I have 4. At this point, there are no more like terms, and I am done. That is my answer. This is why people hate algebra. We want to work a problem and get a solid answer like 2. Not this, but this is my answer. Let's do a couple more. All right, let's do another one with addition. Okay, remember, we can only add like terms. We look inside my parentheses. There's no like terms, so I look outside. There's nothing there, so the parentheses go away. Look inside my second set. They're not like terms. Remember, x squared and x are not the same. So I look outside and there's a plus. That plus doesn't change anything, so I can simply drop the parentheses. When you drop the parentheses, make sure you keep your plus sign. Now I add my like terms, match them up. X squared, x, oh, I forgot to write, hold on, I forgot to write my 4x. X and x. Now in this case, I only have a 2. I don't have any other whole numbers to match my non-variable term. So when it doesn't have a letter, it's called a non-variable term. So now I'm just going to add these up. 8x squareds plus 6 more x squareds gives me 13x squared. The term doesn't change. Remember, I just now have more of them. Now I have 3 x's. I add 4 more x's. So what I have is 7x. Now I have this all by himself too. It still has to stay here. And that is my answer because there are no more like terms. All right, let's look at this one. All right, we're going to start inside of our parentheses. No like terms, no like terms. So we're going to look outside. A negative. That means everything inside is going to change signs. And understood, plus x squared becomes negative x squared. Minus x becomes plus x. Minus 2 becomes plus 2. All right, a negative outside of here, which means I change the signs of everything inside. A negative 9x becomes plus 9x. A positive 4 becomes minus 4. When I expand or distribute that negative in, the parentheses go away. Now I'm going to add like terms. I have no other x squareds, so that's going to stay here all by itself. Then I have 1x plus 9x gives me 10 x's. 2 minus 4, keep that sign, is negative 2. There are no more like terms, so I stop right there. All right, guys, I want you to take a second and try this one. Pause the video, work this out on your own, and then come back and check it. All right. Hopefully you have worked this to see if you get the right answer to make sure you're doing this right. Let's work through this one real quick. I have a negative outside of here, so the signs change. I have a positive outside of here, so nothing changes inside of this. Remember, it's going to stop at the end of the parenthesis. This plus is going to go through and obviously stop at the end. But the negative only affects the first set of parentheses. So it becomes negative 3x squared minus 2. And then the positive isn't going to change anything inside of that second set of parentheses. Everything just stays the same. Add my like terms. I have negative 3x squared. Don't lose your signs, okay? Negative 3x squared plus 7x squared gives me a total of 4x squared. The term doesn't change. I only have one x, so I'm going to write that by itself. And then I have minus 2 minus 9. Negative 2 minus 9 is negative 11. And this is my final answer. My kids ask me a lot of times, how do I know when to stop? You stop when there are no more like terms. Remember, x squared is not the same thing as x. So those are not like terms, and I have to stop right there. All right, let's talk about multiplying and dividing monomials. Remember, monomials have one term, so let's jump into some of these. X squared times 2x. First of all, how do I know I'm multiplying? Two things side by side with no sign means multiply. When I am multiplying monomials, I multiply my coefficients, I multiply my numbers, and in multiplication, remember, you add exponents. Now, there's an understood one here. I multiply my numbers. 1 times 2 is 2, obviously. Then I'm going to add my exponents if the letters match. So x squared and x. Don't forget there's an understood 1 here as well. So I have x2, x1, which gives me a total of x3. Let's look at another one of these. 3x times 2y. Again, two things side by side means I multiply. Numbers are numbers. There's my I. Multiply your numbers. 3 times 2 is 6. I add my exponents if the letters match. If they don't match, x times y is just xy. And that's the answer to that one. All right, let's look at this one. Two things side by side means I multiply. I multiply my numbers. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Now I've got to find my variables that match. Here's an x. Here's an x. X squared times x understood 1 is x3 because I add my exponents. Now there's not another yz, so those just stay there. If you've not seen me write my z's, I put a line in them because when I write quick, my z's and 2's look exactly the same. So I'm going to cross my z's. This is my answer. If you can hear my children in the background, I'm so sorry, they're playing. Okay, now let's talk about division. When you are dividing monomials, you divide your numbers and you subtract exponents. In this case, I have 2 divided by the understood 1, which is just 2. Then I have x2, x1, and 2 divided by, nope, not divided by, subtract. 2, let me erase my dots. 2 minus 1 is 1. So this gives me 2x to the first power. And I don't actually have to write this because it's understood to be there. So it's just 2x. So, and we'll do a couple more of these. Divide numbers, subtract exponents of matching variables. So let's look at this one. And this is probably how you're going to see these written more. Remember that division means, a fraction means division. So what this is 3x squared y divided by 3x. Step 1, divide numbers. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Step 2, subtract exponents. X squared divided by x. 2 minus understood 1 is 1. There's no other y's, so it stays. So technically this answer is just xy. I don't need to write my understood 1. Obviously either one of those I would count correct, but divide numbers, subtract exponents. Let's look at this one. Divide these. Now here's the thing. 8 divided by 3 will not divide, so I'm going to leave that as a fraction. Okay? x2 over x3, 2 minus 3 is negative 1, and y3 just stays. Now technically, I'm not supposed to have this, but for today, I'm going to let you leave negative exponents. Technically, they're mathematically illegal. For this lesson, I'm going to let you leave negative exponents. So this would be my final answer. Okay? If you are still confused, let me know, because I did kind of go over this pretty fast. Well, let's see if you're confused, because here are 2 problems I want you to try on your own. Do them on notebook paper, and then push play back again. Pause it, work, play. Check your work. All right, let's do them. But you've already done them. All we're doing is checking to see if you're right. Negative 9 times 2. 2 things side by side means multiply. Negative 9 times 2 is negative 18. x3 times x is x4. y2 times y2 is y4. Add your exponents. Don't lose the understood 1. There's that one. Division, divide numbers. Negative 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. This x looks a little bit weird, but this is x4 over x. Understood 1, 4 minus 1 is 3. Then let's look at the y's. y7 over y4, 7 minus 4 is 3. And that is my whole answer when I divide that.